And we're finishing up our Columbo tactic by talking about fair play, and that is turnabout.
Yeah.
What if it's used against you?
So how do we defend against Columbo, right? I mean, that's really the question. And Koukl makes the point that the proper use of Columbo depends on, in a large degree, on the goodwill of the person using it, right? Because it can be abused. It can be used to harm, to stifle conversation, to humiliate, and that sort of thing, right? And so it's the goodwill of the person using it. The purpose of our questions is not to confuse, right? We want to clarify the situation. We want to clarify the issue in the discussion, to clarify our points, to clarify some error that we think the other person has made, So that's kind of the proper use of these questions.
Yeah. We don't want to sneak anybody into God's kingdom. We actually want them to enter in willingly.
That's right, with their eyes wide open.
Right. We don't want to lie to them.
So the issue then here is, what do you do when someone else begins to use Columbo against you, right? Especially when you suspect that his motives are not so noble, right? In terms of getting to the truth, right?
So I do like that he says here, there should be no risk when someone asks us either of the first two Columbo questions. We welcome the opportunity to clarify our views and then give our reasons for what we believe. Yeah. The danger we need to guard against is the misuse of the third application of Columbo, leading questions meant to make a point against us.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. What do you mean by that? How did you come to that conclusion? I'm glad you asked. Let me present to you the gospel and cover it in the way that whatever subject we're talking about, I'm using that to talk about how I can trust God's word and what it means to have multiple attestations of proper uses of the text, so that I'm confident in what God tells me through his word, that I can have confidence in my salvation within that. Yeah. Of course, that's what we want to do.
Right. And so I think we've said this before, and in fact, he's said this before, right? We welcome, their first two Columbo questions, right? To help clarify the situation. And we want them to be clear in terms of what we believe, and then to give reasons for the hope that is in us, Peter tells us, right? And so we look forward to that. And so, there's the danger, he says, though, is that the misuse of the third application of Columbo, right? The leading question, right? That's the one that we need to be careful of, because they're trying to lead us down a road that we may not want to travel. Right?
So if you've seen enough courtroom dramas, you know that lawyers aren't supposed to ask leading questions. You're supposed to have the person at the stand present you with the evidence, because it's not the lawyer knows, but it's how does that lawyer know? Well, the lawyer knows because they've read witness statements. They have come to conclusions based on other people's testimony, but they want that person to get on the record as knowing that piece. So, at what point did John get out of his house? Well, okay. Where were you at when you and John were together? Then you would ask, okay, at any point did he leave? Yes. Was it at 6:45 in the morning? You want them to ask that, or you want them to put that in the record.
Right. So you wouldn't ask, or at least the lawyer wouldn't ask, have you considered that John may have, right? Because that's a leading question, right? But notice our job is we're not in court, right? And this isn't a witness stand. Right. And so leading questions can help us in terms of clarifying and helping the person.
Staying on track.
Right, and that sort of thing. Yeah. So the issue, though, here is, what do we do when people attempt to start that, to do that to us, right? To lead us in a particular direction. Right?
At what point in time did you stop beating your wife?
Yeah.
Well, hold on now. Yeah. Leading question, objection. Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So the key to protecting yourself from what may be a Columbo ambush is to remind yourself that you are in complete control of your own side of the conversation. Right. And so we need to kind of take a breath, step back, think about it. It's perfectly fine to do in a conversation. That's where your kind of get out of jail free cards are. Let me think about that for a minute. Obviously you're kind of situated time and place, but you are the person that controls your own side. No one's going to make you answer anything that kind of you don't want to do. And so calling that's those leading questions out may help move the conversation in a proper fashion.
Yeah.
You have no obligation to cooperate with anyone trying to set you up with leading questions. Simply refuse to answer them, but of course, do so in a cordial way.
Right.
You're asking me a leading question. Get out of my face. Probably not the best response.
Right. So you could say something like, my sense is that you want to explain your point by using questions. Right? This confuses me a bit because I'm not sure how I should respond. I think I'd rather you just state your own view clearly and then let me chew on it for a while and see what I think.
Right.
Would that be all right with you?
Right.
And so what we're saying here is, we're just kind of laying our cards on the table, letting them know we know what they're trying to do.
Right.
And we're asking, hey, can you be a little bit more direct and clear for me?
Right. Yeah. He talks about, notice the way, with examples here, that he took charge of his side of the conversation by politely refusing to walk into the trap. And so this, obviously, that statement that Tony read is kind of this like over nicety way of doing it, but it's to provide you kind of that what you're getting at by asking that question. So, I see you're trying to make a point by using this question, but I don't think that stating your viewpoint within this question is going to get us anywhere.
Yeah,
if you want to make a point, just make the point. Just make the point, and we'll go from there. Like that's fine. That's
so what's the point
fine.
You're trying to make
Yeah.
with this question? Yeah.
And so, just a lot of times, why we wouldn't want to do this is because we could kind of stumble into an argument that we don't want to go. And so you especially if you're in a debate situation or you have people viewing you, you may be put on the defensive when, again, you're not making any claim or any point. So again, be in control of your own conversation and just kind of look out for those.
Yeah, and notice here, there's oftentimes in these situations deception going on, right? There's some trickery and deception and that sort of thing, and so we want to make sure that we bring that to the surface, right? Not in terms of telling them that they're being deceptive, but just saying, hey, why don't you just tell me what you're trying to say?
Right. We don't need to call out deceptive behavior. We just should say, hey, this is what I see from you. And of course, we always talk about that. Greg Koukl has a bunch of examples in his book that you should purchase and read yourself. We're just kind of pulling out the main points here to go along with you. We appreciate you for joining us in our book study. So.
Yeah.